right, so we're here at SP Motorsports, and we are joined by two very interesting gentlemen. And we want to start this episode with some introductions. So we'll start off with Jon this time.
Oh, sounds good, man. My name is Jon Mind. I am the Chief Marketing Officer and co-owner of SP Motorsport. My role here is really help developing marketing strategy, managing marketing campaigns, conduct some marketing research, data analyzing, building brand awareness, team culture, and collaborating with cross-functional team, and most importantly, drive revenue growth and have fun for the most part. So that's what we do here.
My name is Chasen. I am the founder CEO of SP Motorsports, and my main focus is pretty much, product development and working with the customers on figuring out, things that the cars may need, and then understanding it, and then trying to figure out ways to bring product to market.
Gotcha. Perfect. Okay. All right. If you're hearing any other beeps, sounds, just be aware we are in the SP Motorsports lobby. So anyone and everyone coming in through the front door, everyone is pretty much notified by the 7-Eleven ding dong.
We're actually inside 7-Eleven. Just kidding.
This is our satellite office.
Sure, satellite office. Making sure we're all being fed well and,
Abundance of snacks.
It's part of it.
All right. So before I realized that we weren't recording, we were going into some history between Jon and Chasen. So we'll go at it again and talk about how you guys met.
Yeah. So we met about 3 years ago. Just Bay Area car culture. Mutual friend introduced us. Jon was in a poorly chosen McLaren at the time. Now it's seen the light. And I think everyone is more beneficial for that. So, yeah, we went out for some drives. He also had a Porsche Cayman at the time. And, we did some track days together. So that's kind of how we connected and met. Was through just driving and having fun, mutual hobby. And, we started kicking it off and trying to see, what the Porsche brand and market is like for guys like us that, enjoy going to the track, love to enjoy cars on the weekends and, every aspect about the Porsche brand. So we, started to chat more about it and really get a good understanding of, what people like us need in the market. And so, I've been doing this for about 8 years now. Obviously enjoying it, being able to be passionate about my work and, everyday life and being just fully encompassed in this whole Porsche marquee. That's kind of my bread and butter, if you will. So, we chatted more, brought him on board to help facilitate a lot of the product that we were working on at the time and figure out new ways to get more people involved in the Bay Area, California, and see where that goes from there. So far we've had a really, really great sort of philosophy, ideology, everything that we want to be able to do. We've been able to find really good success in it. So that's been a lot of fun and really good for the community, I feel. And, we were very ingrained in, the Porsche Club, And, I've been a Porsche Club member for almost 15 years now, since I was, a kid. So that's something that I truly enjoy. So we keep a lot of focus in the club members and the club activities. And it's been fun.
So it sounds like Jon had already had a lot of knowledge of, I guess, the Porsche community, or just...
No, not really. Actually, I think what really inspired me is meeting Chasen is because his passion about Porsche, right? So I was, always have the love for motorsports since a kid, and growing up, and blessed to be able to own one of the Caymans as my first Porsche, alongside with, a couple of the other cars. But, what really stood out to me as a Porsche brand perspective, not just the car in general, I think it's the people behind the car, what people do with the car, and that relationship really stood out to me, and kind of really enjoy that aspect of things for me personally. And Rapture, piggyback on what Chasen was saying, after we met, we hit it off right off the back because, we love going to the track. We love, putting down hot laps. And obviously he's a lot quicker than me. I mean, he's been driving a lot more than me before. But that also helped motivates me to okay, what can I do to my car? Because I know nothing about it. What are the things that I could, bring the maximum performance out of the car? Because I absolutely have no experience in it, right? So, but chatting with him, seeing what he does, Chasen has so much knowledge in his head, and for most of it, stay in his head, right? So my job is really hey, from the outsider that had not been in the Porsche community for so long, but he has. And I was like, you have so much potential to really offer what you just mentioned to me, to the community. I think really benefit to everyone else, because we all have the end goal is to have fun on track, able to hit every single session that throughout the weekend without any car issue. Because I mean, at the end of the day, if you have car issue to deal with, you're not having fun, right? And to want to have fun on the weekend, you want the car to be 100%, because there's a lot of time and effort to preparation to go into a track weekends. And the last thing you want is to not able to hit the track, but dealing with car issue, right? So from there, couple of times I went with Chasen, and he was supporting a couple of his customers on track. I quickly noticed that, Chasen and the car that they support are the only car that pretty much make every single session and no issue with it. And I started questioning why, because my car's having issue. I'm losing brake after the third session. So from there, then I could see, diving a little bit deeper, talking to him back in the office, and a couple more dinners. And really unique is kind of what Chasen and the team use in their car to prevent those things happen, right? And I was like, dude, why is this not on the website? Why is this not communicating with the customers? Because I think those are the things that people want to know. So from there, then I was like, okay, I know exactly what it takes or how to really bring this company to the next level. And so with that being said, 3 years later, we're here. Very unique about some of the packaging that we offer in our companies, which you don't see at any other performance website. A lot of performance website, it just basically copy and paste off the product brand that they carry. But at the end of the day, I'm a very data focused person. And and also like to put myself into a customer's shoes. If I'm going to go buy an exhaust system, I'm not going to go to SP Motorsport website to find an exhaust. I would find a brand that I want to work with, and I would look at the brand's official website. So a lot of the other company, wouldn't call it a mistake, but it's kind of like redundant, is they basically copy and paste all the official website's components to their website that where you would shop. But I look at the data perspective, there's actually no traffic going to the website page on those components, because why would you go there, right? You would normally go for the official website, find a product you want, and maybe contact, the aftermarket shop to see if you have any promotion they're running that you could get a better deal out of it. That's kind of how I shop. Probably I could speak for most of the people as well. So what you need is that, Chasen had actually some of the really cool packaging that they offer in terms of the track prep package, the brake system, wheel and tire package, suspensions and more, right? And those are the things that we revamp our website and have on our website, and which is different than all the other performance site, which is working really well. And to start having those on the website information that really help the market and people understand why we do what we do, and why our cars stay on track all the time, because that's what we put in the car, and that we will never sell anything that we don't use ourselves. I think that to the point is because we have so much track time, go to so many track days, we break a lot of stuff, but breaking it is to us is more as a experience to figuring out a solution to prevent those things to being break long term. And we like to find solution and share the solution with the entire Porsche community. So I think for that part of it, really motivate me to be here every day and happy, and was not happy about to find a solution for the other people. So yeah, so enjoying it so far.
Hell yeah. Okay. So in that's a lot of research and development day in, day out, especially on those track days. You had mentioned, noticing Chasen helping out the other racers on the track. Do you remember what he told you that sparked that moment where you were like, okay, I understand how to take this to the next level? Like, what was that tip, or did he tell you something that you eventually added to your car?
It wasn't so much about he telling me that what he's doing different. I was very much a person that liked to watch and learn and see what surroundings is doing. I think is the level of attentions to the car, what he does to the car, what he tell the team to do to the car in between sessions, how to make sure the car is properly set up and ready to go for the next session. The checklist that they have is simple, but at the same time is very extremely useful. And I just look around. There's no one around in the paddock that does similar stuff. So that really sparked me like, hey, I think we have something really good going on here that you might not even notice.
Yeah, my version of driver coaching is brake less, gas more. So
Power.
If you can't do that, you need help. So just not wanting to overcomplicate, certain things. The theory is very simple. It's all about execution. So, after a while, you start to see, understand, by, just watching how the drivers hold themselves, and, right away, what their struggles are. And most of the time it's always the same thing, especially with new drivers going on track. They don't really fully understand, what their cars can do, or they underestimate the capability And so very often, the first things that we always hear about, always see on track is, my car's brakes aren't stopping, I'm going to ABS. You hear I'm getting ice mode. So we deal with that a lot at the track. And so, at a certain point, we actually just start carrying a supply for enough drivers on track, during the track days that we go to with the Porsche Club, of pads and fluid, and just basically help them out that day, that moment when they need it. So, the preparation side always gets overlooked. So we focus a lot on the preparation, and making sure that the new drivers are understanding of what it is that they need to look out for, and just educating them on their cars and its capabilities, and not to underestimate, oh, well, I'm a noob, so it's going to be fine. It's not going to be fine. Your car still is fast. The cars just keep getting faster, and they also keep getting heavier. And so you're asking a lot from the brakes of the car, the tires on the car. I do just so much more work, that, maybe 10 years ago, you could maybe get away with it. But now with like the new 992s, the Caymans, it's not enough. So, that's kind of the whole process behind us, working with the clients individually and understanding, how many track days are you going to be doing? What kind of driver do you think or you have experience on? So we can kind of gauge what to expect, and again, educate them on what they should be feeling. And, if they have this feeling on track, this is a telltale sign that you're having an issue or you're going to have this issue, so that they can be aware, be prepared, and also know when they need to either stop and take a break. Because again, it's all about safety. That's number one. And so, when it comes to slowing the car down, especially in a car that's, 500 horsepower, 400 horsepower from the factory, without, too much even of thinking about, no thought, right? Just boom, out of the box, ready to go. They're quick, hitting 140 down the back straight or the front straight of Thunder Hill used to be only reserved for, GT2s and, turbos or cup cars. But, we are seeing GT4s, GT3s, G3RSs, these NA cars being able to hit those numbers. And, you throw a tune and, better tires on a 992 Carrera S, you're going to hit those numbers too. Those things are going to make a ton of power. So just understanding the balance of the equation, really, you add a whole bunch of power and, mods to the car, you're going to eventually need to slow down eventually. And so, that plays a huge role in terms of the preparation that we offer for the clients, and just the educational process, which I think a lot of them enjoy. Some people more than others. I can rattle their brain off in terms of numbers and, sensations and things like that. But, some of them just give me the thing that works, just tell me what works and I'll just use that. And so, that's why with the brake pad options from Advanced Friction, narrowing it down to just its most basic form, I think really helps with the client to understand it without giving them this huge range of different compounds and usage and, all these things that you might see from other manufacturers. Bad compound requires a bit of a process to really understand. We've had clients that, just throw a bunch of friction. Oh, my car's not stopping and it's not slowing down. So add more friction. So we have to dial it back and be like, look, well, what tire are you running? Oh, I'm running these PS4s and I'm running this compound from Paget or whatever brand, and it's the highest rated friction level for endurance racing and blah, 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 because it looked good and sounded good on the website. But yeah, it's not going to stop. Your tire only has so much available grip. So you're just overpowering that tire, and the tire just says no more. Like, I'm done. You're asking me to turn, you're asking me to do all these things, but there's just so much grip available. So, understanding how those friction levels correlate to the tire choice is really important. So, through that process and the 2 compound variation, it gives us a nice range to work with a majority of our clients and what they need, especially for, a track day use or street track use, all the way up to, guys that are on Hoosiers or slicks with a ton of downforce, really high spring rates, just dedicated race or track cars. It fills that gap. And at the same time, being able to use it with the ABS and traction control and ESC, all of that's being managed through the brake system now with the new cars. So something that may not get taken into account is that even when you're turning or accelerating, sometimes your brakes are working, right? So you get this really large variation in brake pad wear or sensation when you change pad compounds too. So it's a lot for most people, like I said. So we just dial it all back, go back to ground zero and just be like, look, what tire are you running? How many days do you think you're going to be doing? Boom, this is the compound we're going to run, right?
So the basic questions you need to ask them in order.
Yeah, so that people can understand it. If you rattle off too many things, it gets them to think about, well, what if all these hypothetical scenarios start to come into play? And it's just like, no, let's just, what tire are you running? How many days you think you're going to be doing? And go from there.
Yeah, that's all you need to know or even ask.
Yeah. I don't think, if it is like a more dedicated race car that, you're running championships or time attacks and all these things where you're really trying to find that, ultimate performance, then, the more information, the better, because we're tailoring it a little bit more towards your needs. But general masses, 10, 12 track days a year, street tires, still need to be able to drive it on the street, and some, fun canyon runs with buddies, here's a pad for you. And guys are like, no, this car's just, the only time I drive it on the street is literally to the track and coming home. And I want, highest performance because I'm running, super sticky tires, and here's a compound for you. So again, just that wider range, and for most people that works.
So you said you guys were working together for the past 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Has there ever been any not drama, but a disagreement on something, on a project or working with a client? Has there ever been any issue with you guys working together?
I mean, I think if you're passionate about anything, there's always going to be a level of excitement or inconsistencies between, people. We're passionate about what we do, right? We care enough to be emotionally involved in what we do, how we do it. So when there is drama, looking back at it, it's exciting because it means that we care. So there's 2 ways that we can go about it. Whether it is, we can't agree on, XYZ product. Maybe it's about a color. Okay, it's about a color, right? But we care so much about this one color that we are willing to disagree and fight to the death for it. No, I want it. It should be purple. No, it should be green. It needs a black background. No, it should be a silver background. And then maybe we'll just not talk about it for a few days and we'll come back to it. But it's because we care so much about that final fit and finish, right? If we didn't care, I'd be like, okay, whatever, dude, just pick one. That's how I see it in terms of, so to answer your question, there's always some drama about something, but that's where it stems from. At least that's how I believe in where that that passion-driven, emotional sort of, no, it needs to be this way. No, it has to be this way, because we come from different views, right? He's coming from a potential like marketing customer standpoint, and I'm thinking about it and like what I want. Like that's what I want, right? Because it's everything for me is like a culmination of what I feel, what I believe. Like he's data driven. I fly by the seat of the pants. And one day I'll just be like, yeah, I think we need to just not do this anymore and just do this. And then, on his end, he'll be like, well, let's think about it first. And then let me look into it and, do all these things. And, I'll just be like, no. Like we have to do this. We have to do it this way. But again, that's just our different ways of going about it.
Yeah, which is, I feel like it's working really well, right? I'm a very data-driven person. I also always find myself answers in data, looking back at data. If we ever have, I wouldn't say we have any disagreement. I think like we work really well dynamically because simple say I make the phone ring, and then he's the brain, he's the knowledge to share with the customers. When he closes a deal, the guys in the back will execute, right? But at the same time, when it comes to product development, brand perspective, things like that, they're always going to be what Chasen like or what I like, right? But at the same time, we kind of look back at data to really help us find the answer. Okay, this is what your feeling is, but on the data side, doesn't think so.
This is what the numbers say.
People are looking on this on this page. There's more, numbers on this page and the other page. Therefore, for the consumer perspective, I think people like this better. So I think data is extremely important to run a company or creating any products, feedback, to really help us find answer when there is disagreements. Or I wouldn't say disagreements, but it's like different point of view of a product creations, and also problem solving. There's multiple way to problem solve issue, especially what we run into, where the kind of a performance aftermarket shop, and with data and efficiency and time really help us, pin down that, okay, if you do it this way, it's going to take this much time. You do it this way, it's going to take this much time. They both way will work, but if we could save time and find efficiency, that's where we'll win. And from having those conversations with data involved, it kind of help us really pin down the correct, way to do things and agree on. So I think, so that's kind of how we go about it when there's a debate on a new products or anything.
Debate. Okay. That's a good way to put it. Okay. So we're going to switch gears and talk about something you guys have right now. And that is a Porsche that...
Porsche.
A Porsche, sorry. Porsche. It is a 718. Can we talk a little bit more about this?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a car that we've had at the shop for
since 2000
years. This year, 2023, so
yeah.
3 years now. Got the car in I think April or March 2020. So when the car first released. I love Caymans. I've had a Cayman since 2016 when the first GT4 came out. Love the mid-engine platform. I think in terms of entry point to, I guess what you can call the most ideal performance car platform, being mid-engine, rear-wheel drive, manual, which is really hard to find nowadays. It is probably the easiest to get into in terms of the Cayman platform, and then GT4 being one of the more upper echelon of the model line. So loved that. When the 2016 car came out, what really drew me into it was, when we were doing a lot of these early Cayman builds with 987.1s, 97.2s, we're trying our best to make it work for racing and for the track. A lot of downfalls with those platforms, like it just needed a lot of work to really make that chassis and the power and just make everything work.
The Cayman.
Yeah, like when those Cayman S's came out, they're like super popular. I mean, I think the entry point was around like 70 grand at the time, on average, and get a mid-engine 3.4 liter flat six manual 6-speed gearbox, super fun car. But you would, for the guys that probably came from GT3s or 911s and tracked those heavily, mid-engine always becomes an ideal platform, right? So we quickly kind of took after that and wanted to develop it more. Built quite a few of these Caymans for track use, racing. But again, they had a lot of issues, one being the power steering was an issue with the car. The engines of the time had its own downfalls. It wasn't dry sump. It was, had air oil separator issues. So, when Porsche was backing the racing series for it, they did develop some parts that could be utilized for the track use, but they're Band-Aids, right? They're just things that, this is a problem. Let's figure out how to fix it. So there was just a lot of things you had to do. So when the 981 came out, it was great. It had checked all the boxes, GT3 suspension, the bigger brakes, the little bit more aero, bigger motor, 3.8 liter, which, derived from the Carrera S DFI at the time. So there was a lot of potential there. And, with the knowledge that we've had with, running the 3.8 liters, 3.6 liters at the time. And, it was just easy for us to throw a lot of great parts at it, work with a lot of the great vendors that we used to work with and quickly adapting the car for track use. And it didn't really take too much, So I was always drawn to that platform, and a lot of people were drawn to that platform. I think Porsche did a really good job in kind of collectively culminating all the parts that they had available to them, and making a really cool hot rodded Cayman. That's how I would kind of see that. It wasn't really a car that was super unique. Like they didn't have to spend a lot of time re-engineering too much to make it all work. They had everything sort of already there. So it made it easier for us because we've technically seen all of it already in one shape or form from the rest of the cars, whether it was, suspension from the 991 GT3 and the front end and the brakes and all of these things. So that made that transition really nice and really streamlined. So that was 2016. So when the new car was released, street car, we were super excited about that.
Which street car are we talking?
The 718 GT4.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so when that new platform was released, we were excited about that. We actually got a taste of it back in 2018, 2019 when we started taking delivery of our 718 Club Sports, which gave us a head start in terms of understanding the new aero developments on that car. The front end, they made some large changes, larger splitter, the whole rear diffuser section, exhaust system. And then, they changed the wing to a swan neck design, which has been quite popular. So we were able to play with it, touch it, feel it, and mess with it. The only thing they didn't change during that time was the engine. So the 718 of that generation still maintained a 3.8 liter from the 981 gen. So that was nice. So there's nothing new that we need to get figured out in terms of running the car for racing and supporting our customers for track days and stuff like that. But, just overall understanding of it was great. When the street car was released, it made some major changes. The engine is totally revamped with a 4-liter, so completely new engine. We saw a lot of the aero carryover from the Club Sport. One thing we didn't get, which our car has because we like it, was the rear wing. So they changed the rear wing up a little bit in terms of the shape and design, but it was still maintained with the standard style uprights for the wing mounting. So we ended up changing that over to a Club Sport swan neck style. So all Porsche factory parts bolted right in, made a nice update and upgrade in terms of rear aero. And so once that car came out, we drove it. We drove it on the street just to kind of get a good feel of, what our customers might be feeling and understanding instead of just tearing it all apart and throwing a whole bunch of parts at it. We kind of went on a more
Just step by step.
Yeah, just a little bit more thought through process of, just understanding the car and the usage of it. So spent some time as, just a more street oriented car before we started, throwing all of our goodies at it. But yeah, I mean, now, after the few years and being able to drive the car, track the car, it's sort of turned into this, I would say 80%, 85%, street car. Still a lot of really good street drivability out of it. But, the car's got our spring package, which we've actually updated. So we have a new spring package for the car with new weights. So we're still testing it, getting that sorted too. So, but yeah, I ran our original spring package for a while, our suspension arms for the adjustability, for camber, toe, corner balancing, all the thrust arms so we can adjust caster. And, as we lower the car, we can properly align it and get the car on the pads and just keep it dialed. So a lot of arms got installed on that car. What else did we do to it? Track package. So, our running BBI roll bar, Schroth harnesses, all the safety equipment that, we've deemed necessary for any track goer. So it's kind of our culmination of all the good stuff that we've run. In terms of brakes, we're running, obviously, advanced friction pads, carbon braided lines, which I don't think are released just yet, but they've been working really well. Definitely a lot more consistent in terms of brake feel over the course of the 20-minute. And I think that probably has something to do with the way the carbon brake lines are put together. I think the carbon helps with the heat, but I'm sure we'll get more data off of it as we go.
And it's probably less expand than stainless.
They're definitely a lot more flexible. The way the carbon's laid up. I didn't really get a chance to look really closely at it, but I know that when they showed up for us to play with, they look really nice. So I was like, these look cool and they're carbon. Who doesn't like carbon? More carbon, the better. But yeah, and some other updates.
With a race car to the street car, like the struck tower support bracket. That was a big issue on the 981 and the 991 GT3 platform. The struck tower failures was a big thing, and we saw that the factory race car does have a support bracket for it, but not really for the street car. But we kind of quickly did some data and kind of installed that factory race car parts into the street car, and ever since we don't see that issue come up again. So there's definitely something there on a little hardware like that. So, but at the end of the day, the car, I mean, the ultimate goal is, we would say, like, how close can we get this car to the lap time than the factory Cup Sport? I think it's still under development, but I think we're getting really close to about the 4 or 5 second gaps. Potentially could be more, but keep in mind this is a 6-speed manual gearbox versus a PDK gearbox from the factory race car. So for it to get down to like 4 to 5 seconds closer to that, and with about 1,000 pounds more heavy, I think that is a big achievement for sure.
Wow. So you guys had mentioned that you guys got it in 2020, which was, I think, very interesting for all manufacturers dealing with electronics and cars. So maybe you can walk us through how you guys ended up with the car during.
Yeah, so I mean, the allocation came up to us in the early 2019. Obviously, it was a big excitement news. Like, for me personally, I've been wanted this car since the 2017 when they announced that there's an update from the 981 GT4. So at the very, very early on, I already kind of connecting to my Porsche dealers and my good buddies, Mike, that were able to, which back and forth, but there's a lot of holdback on the release day from Porsche factory. So it's quite a journey to, even from the beginning of, talk about, okay, when this car become available and when it actually became available. So in 2019, we got the call, early morning. Mike said, hey, I got you one. So you got to build it out and send me the build code. And then it's going to be an early delivery. So I quickly, ran over to Chase and I was like, yo, build this car. We are going to get the really first batch of the GT4 that's going to land to US. I think it's really important for us in terms of a performance shop that we get our hands on these cars early, so we could able to spend more time on R&D and develop good products for all the GT4 customers. But it's really, really cool thing that is actually we're lucky and blessed is obviously 2020 COVID hit. Our car was actually the first fuel car that actually landed in US. I think we took delivery in April 2020. So right after March. So right after that, Porsche factory shut down. So pretty much no car, no GT4 are actually being, in production and delivery to the US until 2021. So that actually really helped and gave us an advantage to really play with this car for the whole entire year. Develops all the components that we know that we're going to install on the car, to really focusing on the chassis setup side. We didn't touch the engine or transmission, it's fully stock, but really just focus on chassis setups and the brakes components to really try to see how much we could bring out on this car from factory spec. So it was great. It was great. And, a year later, I would say, once we have all these packages that Chasen has mentioned, the track preps, brake package, wheel and tires, suspensions, data and video system on this car, we were able to quickly really have all these packages up and running on our website. So a year later, our phone just starting to ring. People that getting delivery on the car after like a couple months of them driving it stock, they're already thinking about how to modify it, what they want to do with it. And the moment that they saw our website, they're like, oh, wow, they already did it. that they already had this all figured out. So that really helped us excel in terms of helping the community to really properly share the experience that we have on the car and really help them not go into the wrong direction in a way, because we already went to the wrong direction for them and know what the right direction is to go about it in terms of setting up the cars and get the car to closest to our spec as possible. So that really helped. And I definitely very blessed that we're able to get this car early on, in 2020.
Do you guys have video content of you guys driving the 718 when you're?
Yeah, I think if you go deep into the archives of our YouTube channel, I think we had some driving commentary of our experience.
It was bone stock.
Yeah, and we actually compared it to a buddy or client of ours who actually took both cars out at a relatively stock 981 GT4 and took this one out, swapped cars, talked about, the differences and what we felt changed between the cars. It was actually pretty interesting and pretty unique.
Definitely more power.
Yeah,
acceleration.
Yeah. I'm just talking about just if you obviously want to see more, you can
Right.
go on the YouTube channel and watch it for yourself.
But recently, John, you drove it recently on the track. Was there a GoPro in there or anything recording you while you were driving?
Yeah, for sure. Our car is equipped with data and video system, and this year, this whole season that I've been driving it at all the Porsche Cup Golden Gate Regions events. So tons of in-car videos of the car. And yeah, it's been great. And it definitely, with the new latest spring upgrade, we were really hoping to see what it does on track on the upcoming event in Sonoma. Laguna Seca.
Okay. Wow. Who else is this car for? Who did you make this car for? With all the things you added to it, who would benefit from driving this car?
I mean, the grand scheme of what this car is, there's always more you can do to it, but from a user function / price point and all that, I think this is the ultimate of what we see as the most functioning, usable variation of the GT4 without dropping in 3-way motorsport style coilovers, or going with a wing that's wider than the car and sits above the roof, and with carbon splitters that hang off the front, and you can't take it anywhere, right? So I never want to put something on a car or sell something that I don't see myself using either. I think there's obviously a time and place for something like that, and that's just not really what I see this car as being. I try to come up with things that don't require a lot of attention, or you now limit yourself on where and how you can use this car, because I feel like by doing that you're giving something up, and I don't really want to give anything up. When I get this car, I want this car to be going up in function and performance, but not have as much of a drawback because of these, upgrades or updates. So our theory is, pretty simple. I feel like I don't think anything, we've done to the car is so dramatic that, it takes away what the car's essence really is. So I think that's really important for our clients. If they wanted more downforce and, wider fenders and, tricked out suspension, there's actually a Porsche out there for you. You just didn't start with the right one. But the guys that chose this car wanted this car for a specific reason. And I don't think it's really necessary to take away from that sort of level of functionality. This car was optioned in 2 gearboxes, it's manual for a reason. And at any point someone said, I wanted the manual version. I don't want the PDK. So, why would we turn it around and take that sort of driving essence away from it? If we're going to be modifying it and elaborating on what Porsche's already done, we don't want the customer to feel like, oh man, now I won't be able to enjoy it anymore because, this big giant wing draws too much attention, or this front splitter doesn't allow me to go to the safe way I want to go to, and I have to go somewhere else, or I can't go to this gas station because this driveway is too steep, or I can't take it down to LA because, I'm on 1,000-pound spring rates and the car's undrivable and my wife's going to yell at me. That's not what we want. We want to be like, yeah, I can do it. I can do all the things that I've set forth in saying that I want to do with this car, but it's just more optimized for the way I drive it, which may or may not include track use. So, just our theory and our process of why we do certain things the way we do it. I just hate not being able to, or being told that I can't do something because of something I've already done. I feel like it's just going backwards. I don't want to go backwards. I want to keep this car moving forward. We've done road trips in it. We've taken it out to anywhere we want to take it. It's not too low. It's low, but it's not too low. It's stiff, but it's not too stiff. I've thrown people in the car and they were pleasantly surprised. And when I tell them, hey, yeah, we got even stiffer spring rates than before, they didn't even notice it. They just thought this is what a track car feels like. So that makes me happy. And then when we do a lot of the spring kits or suspension packages, everyone's first thought is, oh my God, the car's gonna make so much more noise. It's gonna clunk. It's gonna rattle. It's gonna be uncomfortable. And then they jump into our car, which has, I'd say 90% of all of the suspension arms. And they were pleasantly surprised. They actually think the car feels better than stock, which obviously makes me happy because, it opens up their ability to drive the car the way they want to even more. So if they're doing a bulk majority of back road driving with, poor road surfaces, which we have here in the Bay Area, they actually feel like their limits have opened up and didn't get diminished, even with, stiffer springs or, monoball suspension, and adjustable arms and all these things. So it just really kind of creates a more well-rounded car, and that's what we're trying to do.
So what are your guys' plans for the car?
I mean, again, there's so much you can do. Then you just got to ask yourself, is it something that needs to be done? Most of the time, no. I mean, if we're just kind of going for cool factor and bragging rights, sure, we can definitely throw way more stuff at it. But I feel like, this car is in such a nice, sweet, happy spot for what we enjoy out of it. I probably just, if these spring rates are what they should do and help with the car in terms of track use, I think we would just leave it alone. We got a lot of new upcoming exciting projects in the horizon, which we'll be, hopefully talking about more. And, but I mean, this car has been such a great car for us in terms of development and understanding, and having customers be able to sit in it, drive it, and feel it for themselves. I'm really happy with the way the car is right now.
Yeah, I mean, see Chasen put kids in it. We go grocery shopping with it, cars and coffee with it, car meets with it, and then go to track with it. I mean, the car just does pretty much everything that you want it out of the Porsche. And yeah, I think we're pretty happy with the result of it. And then and which is, it's great to have such a platforms and the car that had developed, and to let people actually feel it, because it's quite a scary moment when it comes to upgrading your car, and not knowing exactly what you're getting into. But having a team like us to, have early developments on a car, allow people to drive it and feel it before they commit it to the upgrade, I think is extremely important for everyone. And for them to be able to share that feedback in the community, I think is really big as well. And then everything we do is honest opinions and true. So don't make my job easier. We don't have to, do so much about marketing things and try to sell, but it's really truly let people enjoy the upgrade, and they'll talk about it. If people like it, they'll talk about it. So I think that's the most important part of it, and the best way to market your products is to let people talk about it and feel the experience of the upgrade. So yeah, so we're pretty happy with the result of the car.
So let's say a customer comes in, they want to do something with their Porsche that's already on the 718. You let them drive the 718 to give them the experience of like what they potentially could feel?
Yeah, I mean, first, I think Chasen does a pretty good job to kind of have a conversation with the customer first, really understanding what the purpose and the end goal that you want to do with your own car. And from there, then we could recommend packages that we have to fulfill their dream. And if it's something that very similar than the setup that we do on our car, we'll just take them on the test drive and let them feel it. And also sometimes it's hard to just explain to someone that what it does. So it's always good to let them touch, feel, and that's the best way to really explain to someone, in my opinion. So having a car here to allow them to do that, I think is great.
I think that's all the questions I have so far. Do you guys want to add anything else?
I mean, and I think the last topic I think we talked about, really the feeling of the advanced friction performance brakes. I think speaking from my own experience, I do use it on my race car, which is a Spec Boxer that I race in the PCA Club Race Series, and also on the 718 GT4 that we've been using this year for the club's time trials event. And I could say that, I can't speak to a lot of brake pads, but, I always a demons for pads and tires. And from my experience, when the brake pads down to 50%, they're no good, like they're not going to give me the same friction that I would have. At every events, and before the event when we do a pre-track inspection, and I just tell Chasen like freaking out, like, hey man, like I think the pads are done, like we need to change it, and they keep telling me that no, you're still good, you're still good, you still got pad left, and I was like, down to 4 mil. He's like, yeah, it's still good. Sure enough, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna drive it, and sure enough, like even down to like 2 to 3 millimeters pad left on the car, it didn't lose any performance at all in terms of the braking powers. My foot could still feel everything from the brake pedals. The consistency was still there, which is, I think, is really important for any brake pads market out there, and that these pads gave me confidence on that in terms of if I'm racing, am I down to 2 mil, there's no going back. You're still gonna race hard. So knowing that the pads will be there for me and the stopping power, I think is give me a lot of confidence and consistency that will do well in the race or in the time trials. At the same time, like for the consumer, I think it's great because you are really maximizing the money that you spend. So the value is definitely there, that you could use these pads up to, down to 2 mil. It was still good, but, we just don't want to risk it. So we changed it, but it was still really, really good. So from that perspective, and really good. And also previously, on my race car, that some of the pads that I have used, they won't last me for, usually I would pretty much have to go through about 4 sets of pads throughout the seasons, about like 6-7 race weekend, 3 race on a weekend and some practices. But with the advanced fictions performance brake pads, 1 or 2 set will last me the entire season. And for a club levels racer, we're always on budget. We don't have millions of sponsor dollars that go in. So every single dollar that we could save is extremely important, especially on performance parks, wear and tear parks like brake pads. I think that saving money there, meaning that I could buy more tires, which is, amazing. So those are kind of like the experience that I have with these pads, and it's been great. And I can't speak on that on any other pad. So it's great.
Okay. Which pads are those specifically? Which ones of the advanced?
I believe the pad that we're running for the 718 GT4 are the Club Sport compounds, which is great for, everyday uses and also for track uses. It doesn't, lose the ability of braking power, but at the same time, it doesn't squeeze a lot on everyday uses, which is, I can't speak with any other pad that will give me the same feel. Any performance upgraded pad, I mean, driving on the street is everyone will look at you when you're stopping, is like, hey, why are you driving a nice car, but your brake is making so much noise that you can't afford buying brakes? What is it? So it's always like that feeling that I hate every time it comes to the stop. But with these pads, it doesn't make any noise at all on the street. So that's great, and the performance is there. So it's definitely a win-win for sure.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay. Do you guys want to add anything else?
No. I feel great.
No, I mean, I think with our relationship that we've had with Advanced Friction since their conception, and what their whole ideology in terms of building performance, it lines up really well with ours, and that's kind of why we enjoy working with them. They're not a big company, small team of engineers. I think it really worked well for us because we were able to give them feedback and get, product to test, so that, as a retailer, we were able to really fine tune a product for our clients directly. Can't really say that about any other company. I mean, when it comes to pads, they want volume. So for them, they only really want to focus on, things that they can sell. So, and at the same time, the most expensive part in terms of the development cost is always going to be R&D and the formulation. And, what we like is, being a smaller company, they're able to tailor it a little bit more for our purposes. We give them feedback. They come back with adjustments. It works really well. So it's a very symbiotic relationship that we found. And, that's why we've been able to be successful with our brake packages and recommendations and work with the clients on these things so well. So really happy with it. I look forward to the continued partnership with them and excited about the products that they're kind of come out with. We've put some requests in. Like John mentioned, we work really closely with some of the spec Boxster racers at the Porsche Club. It's one of our biggest groups in the club racing scene. I myself had 3 spec Boxers and raced it the past, about 4 or 5 years ago. Love the platform. And, with that in mind, again, like John said, we want to give them the best product. And unfortunately, Boxsters as a market around the world isn't technically that big, and not too many. It's not fashionable to be in a spec Boxster racing program in terms of development. But for us, it's not about what may look good, but these are a group of people that we love to work with, hang out with. We hear some of the issues that they're having. And, me, myself, being a spec Boxer racer previously, ran into the same challenges. The pad compounds don't really necessarily suit the way the car drives. And, looking back 10, 15 years ago when this spec series was, starting, the cars have changed so much in terms of the way the whole chassis is set up, where the grip levels, what the chassis is able to do now. And, it's been really small incremental steps, but, in the whole grand scheme of it, major changes have happened. So understanding that and understanding, the drivers, we sought to find some pad solutions for them. And, we work with a really fast driver, Tim Smith, known him for years. Has been racing spec Boxer for years. And, alongside with John, he's been a great resource in helping us fine tune some brake pad solutions for them. And so that process has been ongoing. So definitely excited about finding that one pad solution for these guys. I don't think, it's going to require multiple compounds to satisfy their needs. I think if people understand and know what this compound or this brake pad set is able to do, they're going to have that aha moment and be like, okay, this is what I've been missing. Now I understand how this car is supposed to drive. Because for all we know, they've been just driving around an issue that they didn't know was there until there's a solution for it. So excited about that. I think that's going to be really cool. But it just circles back and speaks to the level of customer service and their ability to work with us as a retailer and vendor and a resource as well. So really enjoying that whole experience right now.
Cool. Well, next podcast, definitely want to get into how advanced friction came together from the idea to, getting it started and, where it is now. I know you said it's a small team, but I hope we can get more into that in the future.
Yeah, that sounds good.
It's great.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Sick.